in my stint as a controller of one of the banks, so even if we're a bank, we also, as an issuer, went through due diligence exercise. Due diligence is the underwriter. Sorry, I forgot to add. Diba? We have the investment bank as our underwriter. We have the lawyers, and we also have the accountants. So the accountants, again, they would be doing due diligence audit with the financial statements that will be attached to our issuance, securities issuance filing. They will attest that all those numbers, and including those figures that we attest to in our securities issuance, have been evaluated and substantiated. So may comfort letter that the accountants will be issuing that will give a level of comfort to the underwriter that what we told in the prospectus is factual. So pati also meron tayong yung securities registry, either the custodian of the securities for debt securities or the share registration for shares of stock. Now in due diligence, the underwriter, part of the underwriter's objective is to ascertain your creditworthiness as a company. So they would need to ask questions about the company's history, the management, the ownership, the products and services that they offer, even the processes and controls that you have. They would also ask questions about the economy, the industry, and even the competition, and how the company thinks they would fare versus what is out there in the market, how they see the industry evolving, and how the economy will evolve, and how the company will thrive through the ups and downs of the economy. As mentioned, products and services are part of the due diligence queries. Ito yung my mentor back in PNB, who is now the treasury head of RCBC, si Ricky Cebrero. One of the things that I've learned from him is that as a treasurer, whether or a bank treasurer or a corporate treasurer, it's not just knowing the treasury ins and outs of the company, but also the entirety of the company's business, the products and services that you offer and that we'll be offering in the future. It's important for us to have a better understanding, because when we're in a situation wherein we need to convince investors to give us funds, we need to be able on our own be able to explain the prospects of the business, including our products and services. So he emphasized that to me. As a treasurer, incoming treasurer of Etica, I must be involved in the operations, at least through the learning process. I have to be able to then articulate this and explain to fund providers in the event that I will be needing funds to raise for the company. Another question being focused on in due diligence is the processes and controls internally with the company. A lot of these you don't necessarily have to be too honest to the point na nung isang araw nga meron kaming fraud eh. Hindi naman ganon. So you have to explain that yes, we have processes and controls in place, including that of which of internal fraud detection. We make sure that these are adequately prevented, and if prevention fails, we detect it, and if we detect it, we mitigate it, etc. So you explain that to the underwriters, who then would have to build on their confidence that your business is being run properly, and that the investors who will be putting in faith through the funds, they'll have a level of comfort that the internal controls are in place. Also, the due diligence will test your knowledge of the regulations and even taxation applicable with the organization or the business. Finally, the prospects and plans are also part of the due diligence exercise. Dito yung bubuuin ng underwriter, ng advisor, yung story that they will be telling the the investors, the prospective investors. What is your compelling story? Why these institutional fund providers should put money in you rather than on the next issuance. Yung isa pang madugo although hindi ako yung na-involved because I was only deputy CFO of the bank. Yung CFO namin, so while he's away, I was the CFO of the bank for a few weeks. He was away because he's on a roadshow. A roadshow is an activity wherein you'd go through respective cities wherein yung funds provider nandun sila and you make a presentation. Before COVID, people would be going around doing road shows to explain the prospects of the company. Here is a company, here's our ability to make money. This is our competitive advantage. This is where we are. This is where we're going through in the future. The money that you will entrust in us, we will use it for this particular purpose. So yung roadshow, either here or abroad, medyo madugo siya kasi mabilisan yan. Parang elevator pitch or speed dating. Maupo ka dyan, kausapin mo yung investor, after 30 minutes, alis na yung investor, may bagong papalit. Uulitin mo na naman yung presentation mo. So, may mga questions, minsan pa ulit-ulit. Your investment bank will help you prepare. So, they'll prepare you a FAQ, frequently asked questions. Minsan may rehearsal pa yan. Tuturuan ka ano yung ito si BlackRock or si JP Morgan o si HSBC. Pag magtanong yan, ganito magtanong yan, ganito ang alamin nila. And one of the experiences that my CFO shared with me is nung tinanong siya, yung nagtanong sa kanya, parang 22 years old lang, fresh graduate, pero master's degree. Yung mga quants in Hong Kong and Singapore. And they ask very, very intuitive and detailed questions. They have crunched the financials we have filed in the stock exchange. They can see through errors and inconsistencies. And they ask it point blank, why is it there? So, kailangan talaga when you go into a roadshow, you're prepared to answer difficult questions because your response will be a guide in that analyst's recommendation on whether or not to proceed with the fundraising or with the fund participation rather. And after the roadshow, dito na papasok yung book building exercise wherein the underwriter will now open the books and collect hindi naman pledges pero commitments or participation. So, BlackRock, how much are you going to invest? Ikaw, Fidelity, magkano i-invest mo sa issuance na ito? So they build the book. From there, you would see how much subscription is coming in. So pag may nababasa kayo sa news na company so-and-so closed their roadshow or their book building early because of oversubscription, 3.5 times the original target. Yan yung syempre, the more subscriptions means the more demand for your issuance, mas maraming tao naniniwala sa storya mo. So medyo jahe kung hindi ka umabot ng 100% ng iyong target, nakakahiya na you went through the exercise and you found out that the market isn't as interested with your story. So on the flip side, pag so oversubscribe ka naman, syempre you'd feel happy na ang daming nagsusubscribe sa issuance natin, many would want to participate. So yung underwriter will then trim down to the select investors that will, in the end, participate in the actual issuance. So the Securities Regulation Code is the local regulation that governs those securities issuances. Firstly, securities must be registered and approved by the SEC. Kaya kayo nakaka-receive ng mga SEC warnings and notices of firms offering high yield products na could turn out to be a scam because they're not registered. So the SRC is the primary regulation that we refer to when it comes to securities issuances. And an important document, medyo yan yung madugo na nire-review, is yung prospectus, either shares or debt securities. The prospectus is filed with the SEC. The SEC will review and comment. Your lawyers will guide you as to completeness and what to put in place. The auditors will go through it one by one, circle up. The underwriter will circle up items that they would want the auditors to verify. So ikaw naman as corporate treasurer, alongside your accounting, you have to have those documents ready to justify saan nanggaling yung numbers, like for example, customer count, product volume, prospects, etc. So you have to be ready to justify to the auditors. The auditors will then issue a comfort letter saying that whatever you see in the prospectus have been reasonably challenged.